Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to get a shortcut through a whole stack of info to find out what really matters.
And today, we're diving into something pretty universal, I think.
Yeah.
Really human.
Yeah, the experience of losing love, it touches almost everyone, right?
Absolutely. And the source material we're digging into today, it offers a unique perspective, maybe even a challenging one.
It's a text called What People Who Have Lost Love Know.
Hmm.
So our mission really is to unpack the specific insights, the kind of, transformative understanding that's in this text.
It's like getting that wisdom directly from people who've really been through it.
Exactly. And honestly, there's some surprising stuff in here, maybe counterintuitive lessons about love, loss, and self-discovery, ultimately.
Okay, so let's get into it. The source starts with this premise that it really pushes back against how we normally think about heartbreak.
Oh, absolutely. The core idea it throws out there is someone else's love isn't actually yours to lose.
Wow, okay. That's a big reframe right off the bat.
Isn't it?
So what the source is saying is their love isn't like property, something you own.
No, exactly. It's something you get to experience. That's a key word.
Right. And the problem, the point where you get lost, according to this text,
Mm-hmm.
that happens when your attachment isn't about experiencing their love anymore, but it shifts. It becomes about clinging to an idea.
An idea, a hope, that whole what it was supposed to be narrative.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. And even looking for salvation in them, like they'll complete you.
Yes, that's when the self gets lost or fractured. It's less about the relationship ending and more about losing a piece of yourself you tied to them.
Which brings up a really interesting point the source digs into. What are you actually mourning? What's really lost?
Good question.
Well, it points out how we often mourn things we never really truly had.
Like relationships that didn't fully take off
Yeah.
or didn't live up to the potential you saw.
Exactly. Or even grieving for a version of the person that maybe wasn't quite real, who you thought they were.
So it's not just losing the present moment or the past you shared.
No, it's like the whole imagined future just collapses, vanishes.
Wow. Okay, so starting from that different perspective on loss, the source then gets really practical. It talks about the lived experience.
Oh yeah, get specific.
Yeah.
The raw day-to-day realities.
It mentions filling empty spaces.
Yes, like physically putting extra pillows on their side of the bed, that kind of thing.
Right. I get that.
But also filling your life,
Yeah.
throwing yourself into work,
Yeah.
maybe going on dates that you don't even care about.
Just activity, anything to fill the void.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And interestingly, it talks about the therapeutic side of actually letting yourself feel the sadness.
Not fighting it.
No, not trying to rationalize it away, just
Yeah.
embracing it, allowing it.
Okay. And then there's that feeling, that
Oh,
certainty.
That with the absolute conviction deep in your gut that you will never love anyone as much again. Ever.
Which feels so real in the moment, doesn't it?
Totally. And the source says this feeling, it just throws everything off balance.
Yeah.
Logic, sense, fairness, what's supposed to be.
Yeah.
None of it seems to apply anymore.
Because you're facing this really hard truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes the person you love the most, you don't get to keep them forever.
Yeah. And just reconciling that, that's a huge internal battle.
The source also describes the physical side of it, too.
It does. That tight, stinging feeling
Yeah.
in your chest, your throat.
Yeah. Or even like a weakness in your legs.
Mm-hmm. And it touches on the panic.
Yeah.
Real panic when you feel like you've tried absolutely everything and nothing's worked. You've run out of options.
It sounds completely overwhelming. So how does the source say people actually, move through this? What does moving on even look like here?
Well, it's interesting. It's presented less as something you decide to do, like flipping a switch.
Okay.
It's more like something that happens to you. Or maybe it happens when you stop trying so damn hard to make yourself forget them.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's where it gets counterintuitive again, right? The text suggests you only really start forgetting them.
When you start thinking about you.
It's a shift in focus,
Mm,
inward.
exactly. And over time, as you kind of weather that storm, you gain this realization
Which is?
that those things you were convinced would break you, that you'd never get over, they do eventually fade.
They dissipate.
Yeah. The source says they ease up as you understand more. They release as you become more aware. It's not just time healing passively.
It's more active, like integrating the experience.
I think so. And the strength that comes from that, from knowing you got yourself through the absolute worst.
That's described as incomparable.
Pretty much.
Uh.
Having seen yourself survive that low point gives you a unique kind of strength.
And that whole experience, that transformation, It must change how people interact with others later on.
Oh, absolutely. You can imagine. Once you've felt that depth of pain yourself,
You're going to be a lot more careful with someone else's feelings.
readily, less likely to be reckless or careless because you know exactly what that feels like on the receiving end.
Text actually calls them gentle lovers and cautious suitors.
Yeah, and it stresses that their hesitation, if they seem hesitant, it isn't indifference.
It's a result of what they've been through, hard-earned caution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They move differently in relationships afterwards.
And it gives them a kind of reverence for the
You know,
human heart.
Yeah, reverence for its depth, its capacity to feel so much, but also an understanding of how fragile the ego can be, how easily it can be hurt by loss or rejection.
Which leads us to some really unique takes in the source material, even on big concepts like soulmates.
Right. It totally sidesteps the usual happily ever after fairy tale version.
So what does it say they are then?
It suggests soulmates aren't necessarily the ones you sail off into the sunset with. They might be the loves that specifically trigger you, that expose the parts of you that still need healing.
They shine a light on your unhealed layers.
Precisely. And get this. The source argues your true soulmate might actually be the person who, maybe through the intensity of the connection or even the pain when it ends, ultimately shows you to yourself, reveals who you are. And that self-revelation, the text says, that's the whole point of that particular connection.
Wow, okay. That's different.
There's also this paradox it mentions.
I won.
You can love someone intensely, but you can never love them as much as you can miss them.
Wait, how does that work? Love less than missing.
It sounds strange, I know. But the idea seems to be that the act of missing someone, that constant, sharp awareness of their absence.
The hole they left, the lost future.
Exactly. That feeling, that void, can actually feel more potent, more overwhelming than the feeling of loving them did when they were physically there.
Okay, I can sort of see that. The pain of absence being incredibly powerful.
And out of that intense pain, the source says, comes this necessity. It shapes your daily existence.
Which is?
Having no choice but to live completely in the present moment.
Because looking back is too painful, and looking forward is too uncertain, or maybe just too tied to them.
All of the above. You can't dwell on the past or the future or even wonder what they're doing right now because it hurts too much.
So you have to just get through each hour, mentally walk through it.
Yeah. Anchor yourself right here, right now, just to keep functioning.
And even when time passes, the source talks about lingering effects, right? Ghosts.
Yeah, it gets into that too. The specific pain of seeing someone you truly believed was yours, you know, belonged with you.
Suddenly belonging to someone else.
Yeah. And how a connection that felt so deep, so significant, could just end, the source says, in a simple drop. Just gone.
That's brutal.
And it describes the mental stuff that goes on. The daydreaming.
About running into them.
Planning what you'd wear, rehearsing conversations in your head, maybe even changing your look.
Hoping it makes them see you differently, see what they lost.
Maybe unconsciously, yeah. That silent hope, it might somehow rewind things.
And then the reality hits. You do run into them.
And they're with someone new.
Yeah.
And that person is different from you.
Yeah.
They're occupying that space now.
Ouch. That's incredibly painful.
But from that specific, intense pain, the source says people learn maybe the greatest lesson.
Okay. What is it?
And it's another one that goes against the grain. Someone's love for you isn't made less or more by how much they love someone else.
It's not like a pie, where giving a slice to someone else means less for you.
Exactly. It's not depicted as this limited, expendable thing that runs out if it's shared or redirected.
That really challenges how we often think about love, that possessive instinct.
It does. But the day-to-day reality, according to the text, is still living with that ghost.
The what if.
Yeah, the what would have, should have, maybe till could be ghost. That constant internal soundtrack.
Walking down the street, imagining them there, hearing a song.
Your song. And instantly picturing them hearing it, thinking the same things, sending the same kind of texts, but to someone else now.
God, that's vivid.
And then there's that really striking observation the source makes. Just the weirdness of knowing there are strangers walking around out there. Who are now intimately involved with someone who used to know everything about you. Your deepest secrets, your quirks, everything.
That is a strange thought. Someone you knew inside out is now a stranger's intimate partner.
So, okay, we've talked about redefining loss, the raw experience, moving on, the transformation, new perspectives, these lingering ghosts. What's the final takeaway? The ultimate knowledge people gain from all this.
According to the source.
Yeah. They eventually come to understand somehow that you call into your life what you need, even the really, really painful stuff.
The experiences that change you the most profoundly.
Right. And ultimately, the source concludes you never actually lose love itself.
So the point wasn't necessarily having that person forever.
Apparently not. The point was the experience, what you learned, how you grew, what you saw in yourself and the world, what you were forced to do because of it all.
Becoming who that experience needed you to become.
That's the idea. And initially the big struggle is, okay, what do I do with all this leftover love, this intense feeling that used to be directed at them?
Where does it go?
And the final piece, the crucial understanding that comes, you're supposed to give it to yourself. That huge capacity for love. Turn it inwards. That's the ultimate destination.
Wow. So this deep dive into what people who have lost love know, it really lays out this intense, transformative journey, doesn't it?
It really does. It reshapes how you see love, loss, and yourself. It suggests the pain isn't just an ending.
It's a catalyst, a powerful one. The main paradox seems to be that love isn't really lost in the way we think.
Right. Its experience, even its ending, serves this deeper purpose of forging you, making you into who you were meant to be.
So maybe something for you to think about after this.
Consider this idea. What if that pain of loss isn't just something bad that happened to you, but maybe it was actually designed in a way, a catalyst created specifically to show you something vital about yourself.
Something about your own strength, your own capacity for love, something you couldn't possibly have learned any other way.